How does a single, ordinary pill tear down a man at the peak of human physical fame and fitness? Look at this photograph. In the summer of 1973, 32-year-old Bruce Lee was in a class of his own. He was a martial arts icon whose intense physical discipline and precise command of his own body made him appear invincible. He was pouring his legendary focus into choreographing his upcoming film, a project carrying a title that, in hindsight, carries a heavy, dark irony: Game of Death. What happened on July 20th of that year defies typical biography. It is the story of a terrifying countdown, a microscopic betrayal unfolding silently inside a host who appeared unbreakable. The day began without a hint of danger. It was a brutally hot, humid morning in the Kowloon Tong area of Hong Kong. Lee started his day sharing a peaceful breakfast with his wife Linda and their 2 children. At 11 a.m., producer Raymond Chow arrived at the house to discuss the new script. For 3 hours in the living room, Lee was a coil of pure energy. He choreographed sequences, acting out strikes and camera angles for Chow. He exhibited no signs of fatigue, illness, or physical discomfort. By 2 p.m., the 2 men wrapped up and headed out the door. Linda stood by, offering her husband a routine goodbye, expecting him home later that evening. As he stepped out the door, envisioning a successful future for his next project, Lee was unknowingly harboring a silent killer. He would never see that house again. Driving through the afternoon heat, Lee and Chow arrived at the apartment of actress Betty Ting Pei to continue their script revisions. The mood was bright. The trio planned to finish their reading and then head out to a dinner meeting with Australian actor George Lazenby. But as the late afternoon bled into early evening, the atmosphere inside the apartment shifted. Lee suddenly complained of a blinding, severe headache. A catastrophic neurological event was beginning inside his skull. The sudden, intense pain was the first signal of a severe biological crisis. This graphic shows a healthy human brain in equilibrium, but Lee was developing cerebral edema. Excess fluid pooled silently inside his brain's tissues. Because the skull is rigid, as tissues swelled, internal pressure spiked to dangerous levels. His muscular exterior could deflect heavy blows, but his delicate internal nervous system was already buckling under the weight of this invisible fluid pressure. At 7:30 p.m., Raymond Chow left the apartment to secure their table for the dinner meeting. The plan was simple. Lee would rest for a bit and join them shortly. Alone with Betty and desperate for relief from the escalating, crushing pressure in his head, Lee asked for something to dull the pain. Betty handed him a basic over-the-counter painkiller, a pill millions of people used for minor muscle aches and mild headaches, unaware of the lethal trap it held for him. That common pill contained a specific chemical compound. Inside Lee's body, that compound triggered an incredibly rare, violent allergic reaction, accelerating the swelling already attacking his brain. He swallowed the medicine with a glass of water, walked into the quiet bedroom, and lay down on the mattress. He closed his eyes, expecting the fatigue to pass. An hour and a half later, at 9 p.m., Chow called from the restaurant. Betty went into the bedroom to wake Lee up. He didn't move. He wouldn't stir. Panic set in. The master of human biomechanics, a man who trained his body to total submission, had been paralyzed by a microscopic chemical reaction from a household medicine. Raymond Chow rushed back to the apartment. Recognizing the severity of the situation, they called Dr. Eugene Chu, who arrived in 10 minutes. He checked Lee's pulse. Nothing. Emergency responders loaded his motionless body into an ambulance, blasting through the neon-lit, chaotic streets of Hong Kong toward Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Inside the ER, medical science waged an all-out war to bring him back. Doctors worked his chest with CPR, delivered electric shocks, and drove injections directly into his heart muscle to force a beat. Every attempt failed. The monitor remained a flat, steady line. The destruction to his nervous system was irreversible. At 11:30 p.m. on July 20th, 1973, the doctors officially pronounced the 32-year-old martial arts icon dead. All willpower and discipline in the world could not restart a system that had irrevocably short-circuited. When the news broke, the globe went into shock. Millions of people refused to believe that a man possessing such supreme vitality could die in his sleep, fueling decades of conspiracy theories. But the autopsy silenced rumors with a stark medical truth. Lee died of cerebral edema, triggered by a rare, fatal hypersensitivity to a mundane painkiller. It was an impossibly small cause for such a massive loss, leaving a permanent void in the world of cinema and martial arts. His status on screen remains intact today, revered by millions across the world. Yet his final 24 hours offer proof of our own biological fragility, a reminder that death operates without a schedule, respecting no amount of fame, preparation, or physical perfection.